If I give you the opportunity to be a fly on the wall, in what sort of context would you like to see and listen? You can choose freely.
So if I were to be a fly on the wall
A fly
in
on the wall, en fluga på väggen, if you understand Swedish.
Välkommen till Edtech Tuesdays. En intervjupodd om innovation, lärandekultur och teknologier för lärande. Vi samtalar med svenska och internationella innovatörer, investerare, thinkers och doers som utmanar status quo. Podden produceras av Snabbfoting, en ledare inom kontinuerligt lärande och digitala plattformar.
Maybe it could be very interesting to sit in a leadership meeting only with leaders talking about how do we manage mental health, to view each person's viewpoint on how they see the problem and also how they see the problem being solved. Because I have a feeling that some leaders, they're very aware that it's a problem. It is something that we have to take care of, and it's not only the individual that has to take care of it, we also have to take care of it as a company. And typically it has to play out with the leader showing the way. So it could be very interesting to hear a conversation like a leadership meeting talking about this, to see if people have very different opinion and viewpoints, which I think they have.
Interesting. Thanks a lot. And do you also have a wish and a dream of a new podcast guest? I have received several very, very good answers. Or maybe you can send some after this podcast. If you have some top of mind, you can share for me and the audience today.
Of course. Well, at this moment, I can't really think of anyone other than I would say my partner Thomas, who's got a PhD in cognitive neuroscience and a super interesting background within the scientific point of view of neuroscience. He would be an obvious choice. I'm also a little bit biased,
Great.
but it could be an opportunity for you to also have a talk. But other than that, I can't really think of any. But if I'm reminded of any, I would reach out.
Now we have 45 minutes together, so now it is tricky. I heard like team meetings 45 minutes, then the concentration or focus drops down. What is your comment about that, Christian?
There's a lot of science in that. That's one thing. And then there's also something around just going from meeting to meetings. And if you're just having meetings all day online, it actually takes you a longer time to switch into the focus of the meeting you're in. And also if you're changing context all the time with different topics being discussed, your brain also has to be using longer time to switch into what are the things we're talking about. So that's also one of the areas where, with our application, we could give notifications on when your focus levels have gone down throughout a certain period of time, and give you prompts on when you should be able to take a break, because that could actually also improve your long-term performance throughout the day. And it can also help you on a daily basis to make sure that you're not leaving the office with a headache because you've just been constantly overcompensating, or just spending too much mental capacity to be in meetings. So yeah, there's a truth to it. If you have meetings for more than 45 minutes, I know there's plenty of science and research showing that it impacts the focus and the productivity of the individuals, and it also it just gives you a headache if you're just sitting for way too long, sitting and looking into screen.
Absolutely. We need some walks, or I think every person, we have our own tips and what we need to do to recover. It's easy to speak about recovery and think persons I meet, some of them think, recovery, we do it this way, but that my belief it is that it is very unique for each person. It's individual what you can do to perform best with the recovery. What is recovery? That is a unique definition for each people. Exactly. Yes, and a little water. That is also some sort of recovery. We work a lot with HR directors, HR managers, and it is a quite high level of stress. Can you say what is the main challenges for like HR leaders in the workplace?
Well, I would say one of the key challenges that an HR leader is experiencing as of today is again, stress is really having an impact on the employees, both young and old employees. And HR don't really know that much around how people are actually doing, because again, for some HR departments, the only approach that they know of is survey-based well-being insights, which is typically gathered every quarter or every year through an engagement survey. And the problem there is that if you just gave a person or a department a promotion, well, then maybe the answers in the survey would also show that in a positive way, hopefully. But it's not really showing how the employees are doing throughout the year. So again, the leaders of HR, they want to do as much as possible to help their employees strive, both privately and professionally. But if they don't have enough insights on how the departments are doing, how the employees are doing, they can't really do much more than what they're doing right now. So I think one of the areas that they're lacking within is, of course, the data. They don't have enough data to support their leaders and employees. Then there's obviously also something around, educating the leaders and educating the employees, both young and old, in how to manage stress, because you don't necessarily have an education within psychology as an HR director. So that's why you're giving another challenge that you have to kind of solve, which is the whole area around how do we manage people going on sick leave or people having anxiety or panic attacks or mental health issues at work. It's not really something that we are trained to. It's something that is necessary for the leaders, both the HR leader, but also normal leaders, to be educated within, because this is a problem that we not only have right now, but it's also a problem that will continually be there if we don't do anything to help both the leaders, the employees, and the HR directors.
Thank you. And what's your experience from the employee perspective? Is it common that employees go to their manager and tell about stress, or probably they before the stage of a burnout, are the employees good to tell them about signals, or what was your experience of that?
Well, my experience is that it really depends on the department and the psychological safety, because, well, a leader can do as much as possible to promote that people check in with each other and that people would love to share how they're feeling. But if the psychological safety of talking about this topic is not there, they won't share. And I have both had experience with companies where, the psychological safety is very high and the employees, they want to share both with their leaders, with their colleagues on how they're doing. And they're doing that within the team meetings. They're doing that with regular one-to-one meetings. And they're also doing that through data-driven suggestions and initiatives that check in regularly. So they're combining both the data side of it, but they're also combining the physical aspects of talking with each other. But I've also experienced the other side of the coin, which is companies where it's not present and it's not something that is common among the employees and leaders. And what I see there is there's a really big consequence of the psychological safety not being there, because not only do you have some people that are not thriving, and that also ends up in them not performing. And at the end of the day, it's also a business case for the company, because that also impacts the quality of the service they deliver to their customers. So again, the consequences are huge for the companies where this is not present.
Yeah, surveys, it's always, do they tell the truth? And that depends on who cares. Do the employer cares? Is it important for the employee to send that information to them? Are they scared, frightened to do that, to deliver that? Service is a bit, it is a mixed feelings about surveys and what we can achieve from surveys. Absolutely.
Just an add on this. So I'm not saying that survey is necessarily a negative thing and a negative approach, because if that's the only option you have, then that's better than nothing. And I would say that in companies where maybe the psychological safety is not that high, then having surveys where employees actually have the opportunity to share data anonymously through the survey is actually a great way, because then it also allows for the opportunity to have these things coming across. Maybe the CEO is looking at the engagement survey that HR provides them with, and he or she sees that there's something here that we have to look into, and that wouldn't have been come across if they wouldn't have used the survey. So that's just a disclaimer here. Survey is still good, but I think there's more to just using survey. I think we also need to use more than that.
I agree. And I think continuously communication between a manager and the employee and employees, that we need that sort of communication weekly, daily, at the coffee machine, or just say hi and check-ins, etc., to take care of ourselves. Because what could be the consequence if we don't take care of employees with stress? Why is this so important?
I mean, there's obviously the most obvious one, which is that the people that are being stressed and going on sick leave, it is really both impacting them professionally but also privately, and it can end up in them just quitting their job and losing faith in the skills that they really have. But with this situation, they're like they're put in a different position where the confidence of the individuals is really broken into pieces. So that's obviously one thing of it. Then there's the area around when people are being stressed, most people are still present while being at work, but the consequences of having a lot of people that are super stressed, it impacts their well-being, of course, but it also impacts the performance of the service the companies deliver to their clients. And again, short term, it may not have that big of a consequence, but long term, if the companies are not doing anything towards helping this or solving it, then it can have major consequences, not only just for the well-being of the employees, but also for the sustainable performance of the business. And then the third one, which is also mentioned, was turnover. Employees that don't feel that they are being prioritized and heard when they say to their leader and manager that they're feeling stressed, if they don't feel like the company is taking care of them, they end up quitting the job and find maybe a competitor that prioritizes this very highly. So that's obviously also something that companies have to look into, because they also have expenses related to recruiting people, and also when they are quitting. So those three things. So of course there's the absenteeism. So like when people are going on sick leave, that's one of the consequences. Then there's the second one, which is around people being present with stress, how it impacts their well-being, but also the long-term performance of the company and the individual. And then the third one, which is turnover. So people leaving the company simply because they don't feel prioritized, and they don't feel like the companies and the leaders are hearing them out. So those three things are some of the top consequences that I would mention.
I believe that the option number 2 that you mentioned, people, they are at work and have stress, and maybe a little too much stress. I would assume we have quite many of them. How long can these group of people be in stress before it went to like a chronic stress disease? Do you have an experience? How long can we stay in a stressful environment?
I mean, I can't say it precisely, but I would say, like, out of experience, you can't stay in a stressful position for too long. I would say most people, if they experience high stress for more than 3 months, well, then they end up breaking. But it can also be for a shorter while. So, individuals are very, very different, and the stress response and the consequences of it is very different. So you can't really say that out of X amount of days in stress, if you stay for longer, then it ends up in chronic diseases with people going on sick leave indefinitely. I can't say something precise on that, but I can just say that stress is not only something that has to be seen as negative. It allows you to perform, but it should also allow you to go down to your baseline afterwards. So as long as you have a healthy relationship with stress and you know how to manage it, it can actually help you a lot as well while performing. But the important element here is that individuals, I'm talking about employees, I'm talking about leaders, if they don't have the skills and the techniques and the insights on what to do when they're experiencing stressful situations and what they can do to get back to their baseline, then it can end in, I wouldn't know if it's chronic or if it's just being a person on sick leave, but that is the major consequences of not having proper techniques on how to manage stress.
Yeah, and I guess stress, it could be stress from workplace, it could be stress from life, or it is lots of things that add stress to people. And as you mentioned, some sort of stress, it's good, but if you don't recover, it's and if you have high stress and don't recover, then it could be dangerous in the long run. If we dig deeper, what do you say cause stress on the workplace?
Well, there would be a lot of explanations. I mean,
mention a few of them. I guess we can sit there 1 hour.
Yeah, one thing obviously would be not proper leadership. What I hear typically is that when employees are sharing their thoughts and perspectives on why they think that they're being more stressed, it's often around team dynamics, a leader not hearing them out, a leader not setting them up for success. I don't think that it's only the leader's fault. I think there's also some responsibility in the employee, speaking up and making sure that, their opinions and their needs are also explained to the leader, because if they don't know what the employees would like to know and like to do, they can't really do that much about it. And of course, I mean, one of the root causes could also be something related to the private, because, you know, we don't know if a person gets divorced or have some private issues, and obviously that also impacts the stress of when they're being at work. And that's not really that much the leader can do about that, other than, of course, supporting and hearing them out if they need it. And I think a third one, if I were to mention, would be if the sense of belonging in a company is not there. So if I, as an employee, if I work as a consultant and I constantly work for different clients that are not my employer, but they are clients I work for to help with problems, and if the company that I work for don't do enough to support the employees with like initiatives, events, education, you know, all those sort of things, then the sense of belonging and the clear example of them being heard or being listened to, if that's not there, that can also lead to stress, because, you know, if I'm not feeling that my employer is hearing me out, prioritizing me, you know, setting me up for success, then that can also lead to me being more stressed, because, well, uncertainty will typically arrive when such a case is being present.
I work with like a model of alignment, belonging, and collaboration. And if you don't have that part, that can absolutely cause stress, as you mentioned. So I understand your message here, absolutely. Now I'm curious. What could the future look like, Christian? You work with technologies. We have the workplace. You have your mission to help people and connect the technologies with that support well-being at workplace. What could the future look like?
Well, I think we have a bright future ahead because the technology is available. What we're using in Høding is EEG technology that were used to be, you know, very complicated and only be used by experts such as doctors, to now being such mature technology that can be integrated into headsets. So technology can actually help the individual in this case with them getting insights on what their cognitive stress levels, what their focus levels, and how much mental effort they put into being present at work, performing tasks, sitting in podcast, sitting in Teams meeting, what it actually does for their brain and their mental health. So I don't think that the technology will necessarily just replace humans, but it will be an enabler for the humans to know when to react and how to be the best version of themselves. So just to name a few examples, what we're looking, of course, around stress, but we're also looking around performance, where we could look into the metrics of focus levels in real time using EEG technology and how much mental effort you put into a task. What those two objective metrics gives an individual insights on is actually how much effort they put into solving a task and how focused they are when they sit and do a podcast or they sit in a Teams meeting. And what it can actually also do is it will give you insights on when you're least focused and when you should maybe take a break. So again, the future would look like it's already available right now that employees using a solution like ours could actually get insights on when they are the most focused, when they should plan the task that they have going for them this week that are complicated or easy, and when they should prioritize taking those regular breaks that can allow them to sustain a high performance over time. So as I was also saying in the beginning, I don't think that survey alone is a negative thing, because if that is all you got, it's better than nothing. But I think the future would look much better if we provide solutions that provides both objective and subjective data combined, because that not only just allows the leader to help their employees even more, but it also allows the employees themselves to know, okay, what are the things that I do regularly throughout my work? How is that impacting my mental health? How's that impacting my mood? How's that impacting my performance? Because by providing each individual with those insights, they would know what they do and what the consequences are, and they would also know what they can do better to have more energy while being at work, but also have more energy while being in their private life. So I think if we look a little bit ahead, future thinking companies that are innovative and forward thinking, well, they know they have to prioritize the employees' mental health, because it's not only a priority because they want happy employees, it's also a priority because they want high performing teams that can deliver high value to the clients of theirs. So I think the future would look a mix of course physical settings with experts such as coaches that coach individuals, coach leaders on how to manage their work life. But it would also be a combination of more data-driven solutions like ours, for example, hopefully, but also like solutions where you can get a more holistic view on how the well-being in the companies are, and how the performance are, and what you can actually do on a regular basis to improve it even more. So that it's not only just once a year we check in with our employees through an engagement survey or through Pulse, but it's something that we do on a continually basis, because we have already seen it now in most companies that they're having people on stress, sick leave, and they don't really know what they should do differently. I mean, I think it would be wrong to just point the fingers at the leaders, and it would be wrong from the leaders to just point the fingers at the employees. So there's something that goes
it's
between,
a combination
that has to be that has to be helping out.
Interesting. Yeah, it would be possible to combine that with learning, some sort of continuous learning. Can you see it is some sort of reinforcement functionality or something like that?
Well, I mean, regarding learning,
Or
I would
you
say
can connect. Sorry,
yeah,
Christian.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, from my point of view, if you were to connect the objective data with the subjective data with learning, what I would see as a potential opportunity would be that when companies see departments that are either that are either having high stress levels or high focus levels in specific time periods, if they were to also make sure that the learning of these individuals are taken into play and is set up for success, well, then these data insights would actually allow the leader to know what consequences does the work environment that we have right now for the learning part of it, because we can actually also monitor and report on, is the learning going up and down, of course, based on certain metrics that the department has. So that's obviously an area where you could easily look into if the work environments of the teams is actually supporting learning or if it's actually doing the opposite.
Yeah, I have worked a lot with personalized learning driven by AI, and a learning platform or AI app then can measure and see, okay, here we have a person that need to train more in specific areas. So I guess it could be helpful to it could be self-leadership, self-development, or manage stress in different areas, or that could be combined into a technology that you already have. Yes. And if you have any tips to leaders, HR leaders at workplaces and managers, what is the most important tips that you want to deliver to them?
Well, the first thing I would say is that mental health at work is no longer just an HR topic. It's actually a business priority, and it should also be a clear thing in the strategy of the companies. If I were to give some tips to the leaders, it would be that you have to start with the psychological safety of the department you're working with, because if people don't want to share how they're feeling, it will be a long journey for you to figure out what are the root causes. And that obviously also comes with great leadership and, also being vulnerable with your employees and with your colleagues, because if you're sharing your own experience, that the likeliness of them also sharing it back is way higher. Then there's also the second tip I would give is you have to look into new ways of doing things if you would like new results. Because if you still go into the same wall again and again, and you don't really get the explanation and the solution on how to avoid stress or how to increase performance in these certain departments, then the results will be the same. So my best advice would be look into new ways of checking in with your employees. Either it's through regular check-ins, either it's through ambassador network where you have mental health leaders in your organization that has a key responsibility and are also measured on it, with them having a responsibility in departments driving and making sure that the employees are also taken care of. And then, of course, a third tip would be looking into have a more data-driven approach to looking into well-being and looking into mental health and performance, because I believe that there's more work to do than just using surveys that are typically unreliable, can be biased, and they also are time consuming. So people have to take time aside to answer the survey. And if they're in a stressful situation where they are, they have so many deadlines, well, then the answers are maybe not as accurate as possible. So you have to look into something that are much more objective, scientific proven, because that allows you to get a more comprehensive view on how the well-being in the departments actually is. And I think there's multiple solutions out there that can be of benefit for all companies to look into, because I definitely think that new things has to be done in order to get new results.
Thank you. Do you have an example to share from, a great example that technology helped a team or one or several employees? Is it something
I can definitely
share?
do that. Yeah, of course. I won't share any names, but
Absolutely.
We work with the company, and out of the period we work with them, the only data source they used to provide insights on the well-being of their employees and to help the employees with well-being issues were surveys. We got in contact, we started working with them, and through our service, which combines in-ear EEG headsets, an app, and a dashboard, the leader would actually he was actually able to see that every Thursday out of all the employees that were part of the project, everyone had low energy, and that was also correlating with increased stress levels. And we also saw that in the beginning of the week, a lot of people, they had so much energy after the weekend, they were ready for a new week. But what was really, really interesting here, and also talking about the business case side of it, if they had not realized that Thursday was actually a day out of the whole work staff that were part of the project that were lacking in energy, then that could long-term impact the productivity of the staff and also consequently increase sick leave rates. So again, with the use of objective data, which is scientific proven, that doesn't require you to take time aside because it's a physical headset, then you can actually get some insights that are not being delivered right now to the leaders. So I think that was a great example of a forward-thinking company that knew they had to do something differently, that they figured out that, actually Thursday is the day where most of our employees are drained and they don't have that much energy. Maybe we should prioritize having an event that day for the departments or for the employees that are being involved. Because we as a company would like to avoid that these things are taking place over weeks, because that can impact the productivity of the company.
Thank you. Interesting. Why did you start in this field? What made you curious? What made you start this company?
Well, short answer is I have always wanted to do something to help other people. I have a background as a strategy consultant. I really loved solving problems for different companies. 2.5 years ago, I had stressed myself, and luckily I came to the other side and had some great people that helped me out and figured out a lot of different ways to manage stress myself. And that's why I also decided to create this company together with my two partners, Thomas and Jacob. Thomas has a background within cognitive neuroscience and has a PhD in this, where my other partner Jacob, he's an engineer from DTU and has done all the tech. What made us go together is, of course, the mutual passion around helping people, but also the passion around using technology to help people.
Yeah.
So I'm myself very passionate about digital health and the whole opportunity of helping people with insights on their own health and suggestions on what they can do to improve it. Because oftentimes it's not very complicated techniques that has to be taken into play on a daily basis to see major improvements over time. The biggest struggle is staying consistent.
Yeah.
and making sure that you actually do these things on a regular basis. So that's obviously something that the individual have to do themselves. But that's what we as a company believe in, and that's also why I created this company together with my two partners. It's with the mission of helping millions of people with mental health at the office and provide them with actionable insights and suggestions on what they can do on a daily basis to ensure long-term well-being and long-term performance, not only just as an individual, but also as a company.
Thank you. Wow. If you have one tip, Christian, if you have a takeaway from this talk today to the audience, what is the most important that you would like to share to the audience?
I have 3 things. Mental health is no longer a priority that only the HR have to do. It's a thing that all the employees have to put it on the agenda, and companies, and when I say companies, leaders, CEOs, they have to implement it as a business priority, and they have to implement it as a part of the strategy. And then the second thing would be future workplaces will leverage tech to create personalized well-being solutions. So they're not only just using subjective data from surveys, but they're also using tech, whether it's AI or whether it's just technology to help provide objective insights. That is something that future workplaces will have to do to ensure that the well-being is sustained and performance is high over time. And then companies that invest in mental health, they will see measurable returns in performance and engagement. And they will also see the consequences of them not doing it in terms of retention, in terms of increasing sick leave rates, and in terms of the area around presentism. So people being present with a lot of stress also have consequences for the productivity, but also the well-being of the individuals.
Thank you. I have a follow-up question. Maybe I forgot it before. Do you see some sort of risk sectors here in Sweden? People that take care of, like in the hospitals, patients, they have high stress, and it is lots of people to take care of, or old people with diseases, etc. But can you see any risk sector in the workplace?
Well, there are a few. If I were to mention, if you're looking into production environments with people working with pharmaceuticals or very complicated processes that would end out in them if they're not focused or if they have too much stress and they make too many mistakes, it has major consequences. Not only consequentially in terms of the finance of it, but also the patient safety. Then there's obviously something around alarm services. So like when you have people sitting and taking call from 911 or 112 or wherever it was, if they're not focused enough and they are not sharp enough in their mind to find solutions, well, it can turn out very negative in the form of lives not being saved.
Yes.
So those will be some of the critical things. Of course, I would say that when we're speaking with companies and we're working with both pharmaceuticals, consultants, marketing agencies, there are urgencies in all industries, because the urgency, of course, it differs. If it's human lives that are to be saved or not to be saved, of course, the risk of not investing enough is very high. But I would say that at the end of the day, companies that don't prioritize mental health enough, they will see major consequences. So I think the risk groups, the obvious ones, of course, also within the health sector, people dealing with lives and saving lives, hopefully, they are, of course, in the more high risk zones. But I would say it's something that all companies have to look into.
And you mentioned very important sectors, Christian. And my perspectives, I think I was more, about Swedish schools or Swedish hospitals and healthcare with very high workload. We have very high workload in some sectors here in Sweden. I guess it is similar in other countries in Nordics as well, that you are spot on when you speak about your examples of risk sectors. Absolutely. Yes, time flies. It's soon time it's time for other interesting things. Thanks for a lovely conversation today. So interesting to speak about well-being, stress, technologies, and how we can build a better future together. How can the audience reach you?
For those interested, you are more than welcome to reach out on LinkedIn. My name is Christian Høding. I have the company Hød.io if you want to visit our website. You're more than welcome to reach out if there's any questions or you want my perspectives on how to either manage stress better at the workplace, how objective data can actually be a superpower for some HR leaders and of course also the leaders and employees, and how a data-driven approach instead of just solely relying on survey is the future. Please feel free to reach out to me. I'm available. Pleasure speaking with you, Eva, and I hope these perspectives can help out some leaders that are sitting in this position, but also maybe employees listening in and wanting to hear more about how to manage mental health at the office better and what we can do about it.
Thank you. I really enjoyed this and love this topic. Very, very important. Thank you very much, Christian.
Du har lyssnat på Edtech Tuesdays, en intervjupodd producerad av Snabbfoting. Vi är ledare inom kontinuerligt lärande och digitala plattformar. Besök oss på snabbfoting.se för att läsa mer om framtidens lärande.